Hello everybody, Gary Mills here, and I'm still in my lockdown studio. First of all, before I get started with today's sort of like video of how to, I'd just like to say thank you to all the lovely positive feedback that I've had for my videos. Really appreciate it. And also a really big thank you to all those that have actually bought me a coffee. And I know some of you are a bit like, well, what's that all about? Well, actually, if you go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Gary Mills Designs, through PayPal, you can donate the price of a cup of coffee, which is £3. And that just helps support me keep carrying on making these videos. So if you've been thinking about doing it and you haven't done it yet, do it, and then you know all about it. But there's going to be other ways that you can help me and my business and come along and come to some of my virtual workshops now, because I think this is where we're going to go for a while at the moment anyway, until we can do some proper one-to-one teaching. So what have I been doing? I've got to show you, all right? Let me just show you. I've got to make sure I got it up the right way up. Pimp, my face mask. So this one I've called Hot Lips, but I've got 3 other designs. So we've got Happy Dog or Puppy. This one. Bulldog. And then I've got this one, Rabbit. So I've done them in an adult size to start with, because obviously I've got to fit them to myself, but I think they'll be brilliant for kids as well. So big kids like myself and little ones. So on the pattern, I've got both an adult size and a child size. I've done 4 patterns and a worksheet to tell you how to put them together, and I've uploaded them on my Etsy page. There's my Etsy page link. And I'll put it in all the information at the bottom of this video. So today, I'm going to show you how to make this one, Bulldog. They're all quite simple to make, but Bulldog has got more sort of like bits and pieces to sort of applique on. So I'm going to show you how to do that one. Once you see that one, you'll see that the other ones are quite relatively easy to make. So hopefully one of these designs is going to inspire you to do something quite creative with your face mask. So anyway, let's get started. For the Bulldog face mask, you need to download the correct pattern from my Etsy page. And you'll see on the pattern you've both got an adult size and a child size. And for this example, we're going to make the adult size. You'll need some fabric. So you'll need a selection of fabric. You'll need a fabric for the background. You'll need fabric if you're going to use an interlining inside your mask, and then you need fabric for the applique details, both for the face, nose, and for his teeth. You'll need some elastic, because you'll need some elastic to actually hold the mask around your head. So you'll need, here I've got 24 inches or 60 centimeters of just thinnest elastic. You need some sort of glue to actually glue or bond your applique on. This fabric glue, or what I'm going to use is I'm going to use Bonda-Web, which comes on a sheet of paper like this. It's a glue membrane which you transfer the glue onto the fabric using a hot iron. You also need some threads to use for constructing your mask, and also for the applique. You might want to use a needle and thread if you're going to hand sew, but I'm going to use a sewing machine. But it's entirely down to you how you construct your mask. Equipment wise, apart from a sewing machine and a needle, you'll need some scissors. You'll also need a fabric marker pen to transfer some markings. You'll need a chopstick to help push the mask through, and also you'll need some pins to actually hold some of the pattern pieces in place. Cut out your pattern pieces and then lay them on your fabric. For the main mask itself, it asks you to actually lay this quarter circle on a fold twice here. So I'm going to cut that twice on the fold there, so I come out with 2 semicircles. And then for the details, I've laid the pattern details on the fabric here. I'm going to show you actually how to use Bonda-Web, how I do it, because I prefer to put the Bonda-Web on the fabric first before I cut the pattern piece out. So if I just show you that, especially when you've got tiny small pieces. So I've just heated up a little iron here. We're going to just press on this little bit of cloth, but you can do it on your ironing board. When you're using Bonda-Web, do use some brown parchment paper just to protect the piece of work that you're doing, but also to protect your iron. Cut a piece of Bonda-Web to the size of the fabric that you're going to be using. So I've measured, I'm going to be cutting the nose, so I've measured for twice because I need 2 noses, folded it in half, and that's about enough. So I've worked out in a square what I need. So on the, whatever is the wrong or wrong side of the fabric, put your Bonda-Web down on top of the fabric. So you'll see on here there's a glue membrane on one side. Put that down onto your fabric and then put another piece of greaseproof paper over the top. Use a hot iron. You don't necessarily need steam for this process, but you just need heat. And the heat melts the glue onto the fabric. So that's going to then heat that up. You need to sometimes, I sort of count in my head to sort of round about. I keep it moving. I don't keep it in one place. It's about sort of like 10. That should be enough. 10 seconds. Right, take that off. Now don't try and peel the backing off at this point until it's cooled down. So let it cool down. I just sort of wave it into the air like that. And now it's quite cool enough. Now, if you're lucky enough, you can get a corner and rip that backing off. But if you can't, because it's a tiny little piece and you're having problems trying to find a corner, a little trick is just to use a pin and scratch across with your pin onto the back of that paper, and then you can then peel away quite easily all the paper backing from the fabric. So you'll find that that all will come away like so. So that side has now got the glue already stuck to there. Now if you were to fold it glue side to cut out your pattern pieces, you'll find that that will start to bond together. So make sure you turn it over and you just turn it over onto the unglued side like that. Then you can put your pattern piece on the top there, and then you can then pin and cut around. So I'll leave that there for a minute. Right, so when you've cut all your pieces out and you've put either your Bonda-Web on the back of your pattern pieces, or you're going to use glue, you need to start to position your pattern pieces onto the semicircle of mask. You can use your pattern to help transfer over any balance marks that you may need to actually then think about where they maybe where the nose goes, for instance. So to balance the nose up, if you think the nose goes here, then you can make a couple of marks and take that away. So you make sure that you get it in exactly the right place. And again, you put on the left and the right are going to match each other. When you're going to, for example, glue the nose on, you could use fabric glue to glue it on and wait for it to dry. Or if you're using Bonda-Web, just make sure that you're using the shiny side down rather than the shiny side up, as that will glue to your iron, which you don't want. So once you've made a mark and you're happy with the position of that, you could use a pin just to hold it for the moment, then take the pin away and then put your piece of greaseproof paper over the top and then use a nice hot iron to then just bond that into place. Once everything's bonded, the next thing you need to do is just transfer any little stitch marks that you might want to put through. So for instance, where his whiskers are, I'm just going to then just mark where the whiskers are going to go. So you could just use the pattern as a guide just to think, well, I'm going to just stitch the whiskers there and there. You then take it away and you can either hand stitch all the applique on at this moment, or you can use a machine, and I'm going to use a machine, and I'll talk to you next about that. So here we are. These have both been now stitched all the way around the outside of the applique pieces. And if you can see on the camera, but I've actually used a grey around the edge here. I've used black because this will be the jawline. So I've used a black line down there because I just think it defines the jawline a little bit more. White for his teeth, black around the nose. I've used a little zigzag stitch all the way around from the machine. But you, if you're using hand stitches, could do zigzags. You could do a little over stitch here, running stitch. You could also do a blanket stitch all the way around. It's entirely down to you. Once everything's stitched and you've got everything in place, then fold the two right sides together. Now this is the bit where you make sure that it actually all lines up. So you can see where you've stitched that all needs to line up there. At this point, you could, this is optional, but you could put on an interlayer onto the bottom half of the mask. So you're going to put on another layer there. That's just that because they recommend that if we have more layers in our face mask, that it gives us a little bit more protection. That is debatable, but it also, what it does do is it gives you a little bit more body on the mask. Now again, once you've put those on, pin that all into position around the circle or the curved edge here. Now I'm going to stitch all the way round. My seam allowance is 1/2 centimetre or 1/4 inch, and I'm going to stitch all the way round the edge, but I'm going to leave a gap, and I'm going to leave a gap on this side where there's no decoration. So I'm leaving a probably about a 3 centimetre gap there, which I'm not going to stitch because I need somewhere where I can pull the mask through later on. So I'll come back with that. So this has now been stitched around the curve. So hopefully you can see this. I've stitched, stopped, back stitched, left that gap open, stitched and stopped here at the end. Now this is where the mask starts to take shape. So you then, what you need to do is now join, if I move it that way, you're now going to put those 2 points together. So if I do that again one more time, you're going to take this point here, get your finger inside between in the right side. That point is now going to join that point. So you're going to just put the seams to one side and put a pin in just to anchor that. So at least you've got that in position. So that stays there. Then you're going to then put a pin in here, hold that into place, and then a pin along there and hold that into place. So now you can see a mask is starting to take shape. So we're going to stitch along here right the way through, and we're going to stop there. Right, now I've sewn across the bottom of the mask, and as you can see the mask has definitely taken its shape now. The next thing to do is you've got to turn the mask through. So back inside you'll find the opening, and that's where you can turn the mask out, inside back out. So you can get that all out there. It should all come out quite easily if you can make sure you leave a big enough gap actually, which makes it easier. All right, use the chopstick to just go in to push out the corners. There should be 2 corners there and there. Get the corners out nicely, and then you can just give that a nice little press along the seam there and give it a nice press to get that all out into a nice mask shape. The next thing to do is you've got to think about closing up that gap there. So you can just press that together lightly, and you can just machine stitch that or whip stitch that across just to close that. And the other thing is then to press the corners here, and then you just press that in round about sort of 1.5 centimetres in. And then if I show you the original mask, what I've done is I've then just machined backwards and forwards at this point here, but still left a channel for the elastic to go through. But make sure you do a nice strong stitches backwards and forwards there, either hand stitches or machine stitch, because this is the stress point of the mask. I then will loosely tie the elastic, then fit it, get their measurement right, and then I can trim this back, and then that can go just tuck inside there, and then that's all ready to go. So there you are. That's all now finished. 2 masks all done and dusted. There you go. All right, I'll take that off now. If you've enjoyed that, don't forget you can actually download the pattern for it from the Etsy page, but also please share this video. If you know people out there that want to have a bit of fun with their face masks, then give them this video, because I'm sure they'll get a lot from it. I'm going to make some other videos as well. I'm going to actually do a background video to this and show the design background of how you go about making a mask, and I'll be uploading that shortly. But yeah, I'll be seeing you soon. Bye bye for now. Bye.